There's a video, 74 Super Lead. Has a bunch of mods and stuff in it. A lot of stuff going on with this amp. I don't really want to get into the mods, but I did put a Jose Master in it. I moved the presence to the back, and I put a Jose Master in this. When it's pushed in, it is just a master. Pre-tone stack master Jose. When you pull it, it engages the diodes. And then I have a whole bunch of diodes here. I have a 9 volts, 12, 16, 20, and then a diode. So I'm just going to play real quick this guitar through this. It's running through a cabinet over there. Might not sound all that great, but it's going to give you a little bit of an idea. So we're just plugged in treble, noon, mid-noon, bass at 2. The master I'll mess with, volume 1 is on about 8. It's like 3 o'clock. It's not jump, so volume 2 is not on at all. So here is just the amp with... it's also running through a power station, but that's just so that I could kind of get the levels cranked up a little bit. That's no diode master all the way up. If we crank it back a little bit. Now if we engage the diodes, it'll be less volume, but more gain. So, diodes engaged. Diodes out. Those are the 6 Volt Zeners. Now we're going to engage 12 Volt Zeners. All the settings will be the same. Everything's alligator clipped in here, so you have a little bit of oscillation that's happening. The layout's not completely done, but also these coming off the master are not helping out the situation much. So when the guitar gets close to it, it starts feeding back pretty bad. Also, versus the Jose Master, I'm using a 0.1 cap. So I'm using a 10K into a 0.1 versus a 10K into a 0.22. I didn't hear much of a difference, honestly, and the 0.1 was easier to get. It's a smaller cap. The 0.22 is gigantic, and it takes up a lot of room on the circuit board. So here is a 12 volt Zener. Master, no diode. Diode. Back to regular. So clearly a volume drop, but also a lot more gain with the diode engaged. Also for fat cap right now, I have a switch on this to change from a 25 UF or a 0.68. Right now the fat cap on the cathode, the V2 cathode is it's a 0.68. So that was a 12 volt. Now we're going to go with a 16 volt. Now from all the research that I've done, 16 volt should be the winner for me, or diodes. The 20 volt might be a little too much, but we'll find out here. So nothing has changed. Regular master. No diode. So it seems like the 20 volt or the 16 volts, they all sound good, right? The 9 volt was maybe not enough. The 12 was good. The 16 is the safe choice because the 20 may be a little too much, and if it is, then then the 16 volt is the winner. So we'll find out here. Also, when the gain drops, you should compensate and turn the master up when the gain drops from the diodes, but I don't want to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It gets pretty quiet, the settings that I'm in, because I'm sitting right in front of the cabinet, so it gets pretty quiet as it is right now. Also, there's a whole bunch of other tweaks that I can make to then tailor around the diodes that I'm using. So here is a 20 volt Zener, no diode engaged. The 20 volt sounds fine. Again, 16 volt might be the safe one because 20 is pushing it a little bit. But I don't know. After I make this video, I'm going to mess with these. I might actually go back and forth still on the video a little bit more. I know that I want at least a 16 volt. So it will be interesting. Now here is diodes. These are the ones that Friedman uses in his amps. I actually don't know what to expect on this. These are the MSPA, whatever the standard diode is that Friedman's using on his stuff. So here we go. Diode not engaged. Or transistor not engaged. So there's a bigger volume change for sure. Okay, now if we just stick with just assume that test is over. This is part 2. I narrowed it down to the 1620 and the transistor. So now I'm going to mess with this a little bit more. Turn up the gain on the power station, or the volume, I mean. And then I'm going to try and compensate the volumes here. So that's the master all the way up, no diode engaged. Just a little bit more volume. So now we'll engage it. So when the volume is fully engaged, if I switch back and forth, I don't get a volume drop. That's interesting. Let's I'm gonna put in the high gain setting on the 25 UF on the cathode resistor. That's no diode. Here's diode, high gain, cap. So if we back the volume down to, let's say, 3 o'clock, no cap, high gain, no transistor, high gain cap. Basically sounds just like a boosted super lead. Engage That's pretty interesting. And what the transistors or diodes really replicate is when the volume's cranked full, it sounds pretty good. You get a lot more gain and saturation. When you back the gain off, you really need the diodes in circuit to fill out what you're missing. Sure, you get a little bit more gain even at full settings, but when you back this off from 10, the amp's upside down, so 10's up here. When I back it down here to 8, the gain really drops without the diodes engaged. But when you pull the diodes, it's like getting the 10 and more. So it's pretty interesting. Those are actually pretty good. The transistor. Let's see what we have here. So we have, I wrote on these very small, so it's pretty hard to see. That's the 20 volt. This is the 16 volt. So let's go back to the 16 and let's see what we have here. So now we're back to a 16 volt Zener, and I'm going to, you know, tweak everything and get it to sound pretty good. This is really nerdy stuff. It's kind of cool. But you actually get to see how we're tweaking amps and you know, setting things up. There's also a couple more spots where I could add more gain. Now that I know what I'm getting into here, I backed the gain off here to clean up the flub in the amp, but I think that I now can get back into some gain here early on. When I say here, early on V1, I'm pretty much in V1B, and then I can then back it off here with the diodes. So here is 20 volt Zener, not engaged. Engaged. Gives it a lot more beef, but where you really figure it out is when we turn the gain down, like I said, from 10 to 8. So now we're at about 8. That was a 16 volt Zener. That was not a 20 volt, which is nice because I thought it sounded a little bit weak. So now I'm going to try the 20 volt. Let's see on this one. I'm actually a little surprised. I thought that was a 20 volts, and I thought that the resistor or the transistor sounded better. 20 volt Zener. No diode. You know, they're close when they're on 10, but when I back it off to about 8, no diode, 8. I'm sure what'll be really clear is, so here's guitar on, here's the master. If we turn up just a little bit. There's a clear difference there. On 10 again. No diode, diode. Okay, that's the 20 volt Zener. Now we're going to try the last one again, which is the diode, or the transistor, sorry. These are the ones that Friedman uses, the MSPA, whatever they're called, 06, whatever they are. This one will be interesting, because this one might be the winner, actually. There we go. This is diode N, or transistor. That's diode, or no transistor. You know what? I can't tell. Sorry that this is going to go back and forth for a while, but I'm going to try and figure this out. That sounds good. It sounds fine. Does it sound perfect? I don't know. Let's go back to the 20 volt. Let's go back to the 16. This is the 16 volt Zener. Let's see if this one pulls off what I want it to pull off, and if it keeps all that gain. Because what's nice about the transistor is it's a little more saturated, for sure. More saturated and more compressed. The Zener just seem a little bit more open and more dynamic, but I'm not sure yet. 16 volt. No diode. This 16 volt is not enough. It doesn't saturate enough, for sure. Let's go back to the 20 volt. I really need it to saturate a little bit more. This is a long video, sorry, but if If you're watching the whole video, you're interested in this kind of stuff. If not, I understand. 20 volt Zener. No diode. Diode. Sounds fine. It really does sound fine. But for I think how I have the amp set up, I'm actually surprised about this. The transistor seems to be the best. I could be proven wrong here. And if I am proven wrong, we'll go to the 20 volt. The 20 volt Zener really sounds great right before 10. When you get it to 10, it's almost like it takes it out of the circuit in a way. It's strange. I don't know. That actually might be happening the way that this is wired. I have to actually look into that. But it just sounds like when you turn it up, you just get a little bit more. This one with the transistor actually, I think, sounds like even when it's turned up all the way, you get more saturation. So here's the same setting that we turn off the 20 volts to the transistor. No transistor. That's on 10. I think that the transistors are a winner.